LifeForge RPG is a game that's set in a large, vast world where you can explore, you can gather resources, you can craft, you can match up with other players in PvP or PvE, and have lots of engaging and fun opportunities. Or so says the About page on Steam. This game promises to have a lot of opportunities for exploration, a lot of opportunities for crafting and customization, but it clearly falls short in many of those aspirations. You start off and it's cold and rainy. You're woken up by an old man, you're left in the sea, you're coming in from the sea. Apparently you have no recollection of who you are. Jumping right into the game, they start you off with 3 options. You could become a melee character, a ranged character, or a magic character. From there, you can choose your hair and your name. After that, after a little bit of dialogue, they throw you right in, and there's lots of people already in the hut, already in the house that you're in. Interestingly enough, I found this to be a quite confusing beginning to this game. There were people everywhere. Text was flying all around, there was a chat message at the bottom left that was scrolling up continuously, and I found it odd that I didn't know exactly where I was. There were so many different characters, there were so many different people in that first hut, that it took me a moment to realize that I was next to the bed. A few disappointing things immediately in this game was the fact that the text overlay was so jumbled. As I walked up to the first man to ask him some questions about what was going on, there was other text overlaid onto it, and so it made the reading of the text pretty confusing, as well as the fact that they kept having chat bubbles come up from the guy, while the actual text that I needed to scroll to was in the bottom left. I talked with him a bit, but again, my first experience with this game was pretty bad. It's like going on a first date. When you go on a first date, the first 15 seconds can pretty much tell you how the rest of the game is going to go. And so far, I wasn't that impressed. I talked with the man and he told me that I need to talk to a guy outside. I need to talk to actually all the townspeople to get a better understanding of how the game worked. I found myself talking with a guy named Frederick, who asked me to chop down some wood. I continued through the chat bubbles, and he ended up giving me an axe. The problem was I didn't know exactly how to equip the axe, and so I went into my item menu, left-clicked on the axe, nothing happened. I right-clicked on the axe, and I dropped the axe. Promptly, someone ended up picking it up, and I could no longer cut down the firewood needed to finish the quest. Other townspeople around the area told me that this was an opportunity to create my own life, craft my own new life. Apparently that's true. However, my new life was confusing and overly complex. I ended up talking to a couple other people and ended up asking the chat how to equip a weapon. What was nice about the chat is that the people that were already in the world were actually quite amicable and helped a noob like me try to figure out how to equip an axe. I wrote down, "How do you equip?" Someone immediately responded, or double-click on the item to equip it. I found this to be overly confusing. One would think that you could click and drag or use any other things, but it was not intuitive to me that you needed to double-click on an item to equip the game. I walked around and found myself scrolling from different part of this map to a different part of the map, and I found the level design to be a little bit laggy. Every time I went into a new level, the computer froze for a bit, and I didn't know exactly whether it was going to survive the transition. After a couple brief moments, it would move to the next map, and I found myself in another 8-bit world with other people walking around. As I continued to walk, I found myself fighting some hornets. I ended up smashing control button, which was the attack button, but the attacking seemed lagged. It seemed like the inputs of my mashing the control button wasn't attacking as fast as I expected it to. After I killed my first hornet, it dropped some gold, and immediately it wasn't intuitive for me on how to pick up the gold. I would walk over it, press control, press space. Nothing seemed to happen. I would pause, I would try again, and then nothing would happen. Eventually I found that I believe to be the correct answer is that you stand over it and you wait and you smash control and spacebar and somehow you magically have picked up the gold. Another disappointing fact about this particular game is the music. The music is not polished. As you continue to walk around the world, the music is on loop. And when it loops, unfortunately it's not a perfect loop. And so the fighting music would play and play, and then you'd hear a brief pause, and then it would loop once again. The continuity of the music was not accurate, which made for a game that felt unpolished. I continued to attack and ended up getting killed by a moose, after which I resurrected and started back in the exact same hut in which I had started the entire game. I continued to talk with people and fight, and eventually I found myself at level 2. However, I found this leveling up to be very anticlimactic, as there was no fanfare for reaching level 2, and I didn't even know that I'd reached level 2 until I looked at my character and noticed that it had a level 2 right next to his name. The game crashed twice while I was playing. As you can clearly see from the beginning of this, it didn't give me the option to do full screen. It was in windowed mode until it crashed, and once the game crashed, it then availed me the opportunity to go full screen, which is what you're hopefully seeing right now. There are also level crafting issues. I found myself trying to move into particular areas that looked like I should be able to traverse them. However, the game design and level design did not allow me, and it did not make it clear that I couldn't move to particular areas. I found myself mostly running away from enemies, trying to not aggro them as I tried to find some of the cool big bosses that I had seen in the game trailer. But alas, every time that I went out searching, I found myself getting killed by toons that were far greater level than I. Like I said in the beginning, my first experience with this game was disappointing. It looked like a great 8-bit RPG that I could definitely sink my teeth into, an opportunity for me to customize my character and envelop myself in a world of 8-bit bliss. Unfortunately, what I found myself in was an unpolished game, with text issues, with side-scrolling lag issues, and with game crashing issues. Interestingly enough, most of the chat while I was in this game for the first 15 minutes talked about why the Emerald server that I was consequently on was such a bad server to be on. This game is one of those games that I believe that had great aspirations for a powerful 8-bit RPG, but fails epically in so many simple ways. I believe the intent, however, of this game was to create a game with lots of opportunities for customization of characters, enveloping yourself in a world with other players and questing and having fun doing that in 8-bit fashion. However, I found myself mostly frustrated with this game, and unfortunately it did not give me the impression, or at least a lasting impression, to want to play this game much further.